Bush is the exchange student that you have like a 3-week affair with.
Like, we can see that you don't have pants on.
Somebody hit somebody with a pie. Do something.
Giovanni yelling we're out of time as we go off the air.
Giovanni yelling a lot of things tonight.
And welcome to the Mark It Down podcast.
Hey gang, I've missed you. It's been a minute. It is I, Matt Cascone, and you're here watching the Mark It Down podcast. I'm going solo tonight. No banners, no nothing. Simple talk with your man, Simple Matt. And The Rock returned tonight on SmackDown. This was a last minute. They announced it yesterday, but last minute announcement that The Rock would be here on SmackDown. We haven't seen him since the first episode of Raw on Netflix, where Rock famously patted himself on the back for a half hour, not before drinking and driving out of his way out of the arena. I, of course, give Rock a hard time, but everyone still loves him, and I'm sure he was below the legal limits. I'm sure he was fine. Regardless, let's get right into that. Very surprising with The Rock. Not only was the surprise a surprise, the fact they announced it basically 24 hours beforehand, we also were told that the Liv Morgan-Naomi match would not be going on, and that also the six-man tag between Braun Strowman, Damian Priest, and Cody Rhodes versus the Bloodline, or whatever they're called nowadays, Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, and Tama Tonga, would not be happening. The beginning of the show, we find out that the women's match is still happening, Liv Morgan and Naomi. We'll get into that later. But that the six-man tag has turned into just a regular traditional tag. Cody Rhodes is out, and it'll just be two members of the Bloodline. But let's get back to The Rock. Surprisingly, this is the surprising part. The Rock segment is not last. So The Rock kind of shows up in the middle of the show. After him is the tag title match, as well as that other tag match that I had just mentioned beforehand. So very surprising. It led me to believe that perhaps that The Rock might get involved with that main event tag team match. That did not happen, unless maybe it did happen. My TV cut it off, but I don't think it actually happens. You guys let me know. Regardless, Rock comes out. His music plays. It switches up. They have like a New Orleans new intro, probably a one-off, specialty. He comes out, goes to the ring. He addresses the crowd. He dresses himself as the final boss. So you think, okay, maybe we're not all the happy good times, patting myself on the back. Maybe we're getting down to business and he's going to kick some ass. But he goes back and forth between being nice guy Rock and final boss Rock. And it's actually kind of funny. Like, I actually liked it. It was kind of, what's the word? It's like he has like split personality. He's like, happy-go-lucky Rock. Like, like someone drops his phone. He leaves the ring and picks up the phone and gives it to them. Like, he's telling them he loves them, and and the next minute he's like, "You shut your STD-filled mouths" when The Rock is singing. Like, this isn't sing along. This is that's the final boss is singing. So some very fun stuff here, and the crowd is just like The Rock is going back and forth between loving and cheering him and booing and hating him. So basically, down to business. After all that goofiness, The Rock announces that WrestleMania 42, that's next year's WrestleMania, will be coming to New Orleans, Louisiana, at the Superdome. WrestleMania is returning. Good for you, New Orleans. You got WrestleMania 30. You got WrestleMania 34, I think it was. And now you're getting WrestleMania 42. That's 3 WrestleManias in 12 years. I'm jealous. I mean, we only got New York, New Jersey. We only got WrestleManias 29 and 35. But I digress. We're getting SummerSlam this year, so that's cool. So that's the first piece of business that The Rock has laid out. And it was very funny. There was a lot of speculation on what Rock was coming to do on Friday Night SmackDown. There was a lot of speculation online. Some really cool theories and some funny jokes. There was jokes of, oh, he's just here because he heard CM Punk is going to headline in WrestleMania and he wants to stop that again. There was jokes that he was going to take Logan Paul's 6th spot in the Elimination Chamber. My prediction was that he was either just going to insert himself into the title match at Mania, or he'd be the 7th person in the Elimination Chamber. That we have had 7-man Elimination Chambers in the past, only one, but we did have one. But I digress. If you told me that SmackDown was in New Orleans, I probably would have guessed that the announcement for Mania next year in New Orleans was going to happen. But he also calls out Cody Rhodes, but respectfully. He's just like, hey, this is a man who I've become friends with. This is a man I respect, I admire. He's doing a great job as WWE champion, so I'd like to respectfully call out Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes comes out. Rock basically just says the same thing over and over again, like, oh, we're friends. I respect you. Here's a picture of our moms who have become friends. We're both, but there's some fun stuff there too. He's like, hey, we're both girl dads. We're both mama's boys. Some funny, stuff going on there. But The Rock is just like, you're here, you're champion, you're their champion. I want you to become my champion. And the crowd boos, essentially, selling his soul, becoming a corporate shrill of himself. And Cody's just like, I'm their champion. And Rock's like, I know that. But again, he goes on. He says the same thing. Basically retorts himself. And Cody during all of this is just, he's overacting, and it's comical, but it fits. He does it well, better than him just being very stoic. And that's the thing I got to comment on The Rock. He's always wearing sunglasses. I feel like he's got to take those shades off sometimes. I mean, acting, you can do a lot with your eyes when it comes to acting. And I feel like he limits himself by doing that. Or at least at some point during that promo, I would have liked him to take the glasses off. He even adjusted them at one point. I'm like, ooh, this one he's going to take them off and he's going to look Cody in the eyes. And he's like, Cody, I want you to be something I've never had that I've always wanted. I want you to be my brother. Like if he had said that he did say that. If he had said that with the sunglasses off, I think that would have been a bit more powerful. Cody, again, the quivering of the lip, he's got heavy thoughts, like the thoughts are weighing on him. And I swear, I'm just like, bro, if Rock mentions Dusty Rhodes, Cody's going to cry. I mean, anytime you mention Dusty Rhodes, Cody cries. And that's not a judgment. That's not a criticism. It's just a fact of life. Rock does mention, he's just like, I want you to like hand down from generation to generation. Like I want it, all your dreams to come true. Your baby girl's dreams to come true. My dad, your dad, they were friends. They're looking down from the clouds on us. And I was like, oh, that's kind of sweet. But Cody didn't cry. So Cody, good for you. You're doing enough acting right now. You don't need to cry. It didn't need to happen. Finally, Rock says, and I've always wanted that. And he's pointing at the championship. And Cody's like, you want this title? He's like, no, I want your soul. And I was just like, that was weird. I think that kind of was a little more than needed to be said. I think he had said enough as it was with this promo. Maybe if he said, I need your heart, and like Cody was holding the title on the other arm, I think that would have, for me personally, I think that would have been a little less ridiculous. I mean, he's not the Undertaker. It just seemed a bit much, but this was still an enjoyable segment overall. Rock says, I don't want your answer tonight. I want you to think about it, talk to your family about it, and I'll see you at Elimination Chamber in Toronto. You tell me what you think then. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's a segment that we're going to get at Elimination Chamber. That makes Elimination Chamber a little more exciting. instead of just having a bunch of like number one contender matches, is essentially, which is what the Elimination Chamber has become. Not a fan. I liked when the Elimination Chamber, when the title was on the line. But anywho, this was a good segment. I liked it. I like that we got two things out of it. We get, for the hometown crowd, they get the confirmation that they're getting WrestleMania in New Orleans next year. Good for them. Happy for them. I feel bad for international crowds. The international crowds have been very, very hot. I hope that wasn't too loud in the background there, the sink running. They have been vying for a WrestleMania for quite some time. We've been throwing them bones with, the pay-per-views, with Backlash and whatnot. But it would be nice for an international crowd to get a WrestleMania. And then we got the big news. Rock looks like he's inserting himself somehow this year for WrestleMania. I don't think all the reports are saying he's not going to wrestle at Mania. Maybe he won't wrestle, but I think he'll definitely be involved in some way or another. But it's like Rock says, sit back and enjoy the ride. Excuse me. We're going to see how this plays out, at the very least, at Elimination Chamber. So stay tuned for that. It's a week from now. It's Saturday now. I'm reviewing SmackDown from yesterday. A week from tonight is Elimination Chamber in Toronto. The rest of the show was kind of dull. It was a bit of a, just a standard, episode of SmackDown, like putting all... The Rock was the only really standout thing. He didn't take too long, which was great. Let me go over what else happens here. The first match of the night was Drew McIntyre versus Jimmy Uso. They talked a lot about Jay during the beginning of the match. Don't like that for Jimmy. A commentary said they have faced off against each other 38 times in their career, Drew McIntyre and Jimmy Uso, but this is the first time they've had a one-on-one match. Thought that was an interesting statistic. Keep bringing things up like that. I think that's something that AEW has done really well since day one. WWE, they don't really focus on that, and I think they should going forward. So kudos to them on that. Drew McIntyre hit a crazy Alabama slam onto the steel steps on the outside. Jimmy Uso hit a whisper in the wind, or should I say Uso in the winds. Drew hit a flying headbutt at one point. Jimmy hit a pretty bad looking spear. What are you going to do? Towards the end, Drew's going for the Claymore. Jimmy blocks it. Drew gets some more offense, is jabber jawing Jimmy, and it sets him up for another Alabama slam, but Jimmy reverses it into a pin and gets a surprise win. So Drew McIntyre loses the match to Jimmy Uso. That's crazy. He's recently lost a match against Jey Uso. So what are you going to do? Interesting, I guess. I would have liked if Jimmy had gotten to hook the leg like he tried to with the Alabama slam. Instead, it was Drew's legs hitting the ground, and then Drew had to put his leg up, and Jimmy had to grab it. So not great, but that's just a little small nugget of detail. Not the end of the world. You hear the Bloodline talking, whatever they call themselves now. I don't know. I don't really care. Solo comes out. He's talking to Jacob. They're having an interesting conversation. I like it. They call it fascinating on commentary. I would agree with that sentiment. I like Solo's acting here. I feel like I would have liked him in a different position last year instead of the thing they forced him in, because I do think he's talented, and I think he has personality. And I would have liked it if it come out a different way than what we got, but it is what it is. It seems like they're setting up Jacob versus Solo at WrestleMania. They're planting the seeds for that here. The two of them are going to be in the tag match tonight. It was supposed to be Jacob and Tama Tonga, but Jacob says he switched it up, so that's him and Solo. Moving on. There's a backstage segment with R-Truth and Carmelo Hayes again. Apparently, Carmelo Hayes will be teaming up with Miz to face R-Truth versus a mystery partner. Miz is trying to run the Mello Don't Miz tag team name. Miz looks kind of pathetic here. It's like, who's more pathetic, Jimmy Uso or The Miz? It's a shame. They're both very talented. And hey, Jimmy got the win tonight, so he could be doing worse. I just don't think there's room for Jimmy and Jay to both be successful singles stars or singles champions. Maybe Jimmy can get the Speed Championship. I think that's still held by Dragon Lee, who I don't think has been on WWE television this entire year so far. I don't know. Again, I haven't been here, guys. I apologize. I've been doing the social media stuff and covering live shows. I was recently at the Jersey J Cup. That was a lot of fun. So just, we're all doing stuff here to promote the pod. I just haven't been here on the pod. So catching myself up. They do a Zelina Vega video package. Thought it was a good video package. Good for her. Hopefully they have plans for her. Then we go to that tag match. A lot of tag matches tonight. I just realized. So it's Mello Don't Miz versus R-Truth and a Louisiana legend. R-Truth comes out and he's like propping them up. And I'm like, who could it be? And he's like, Louisiana Night. I was like, huh? I'm like, oh, that's lame. And then I thought, oh, Louisiana. The initials for the state is LA. LA Night. That's funny. That's funny. I like that. They have a pretty standard match, but, strange bedfellows tag team match, but a tag team match nonetheless. That Shinsuke Nakamura interferes in. He attacks LA Knight on the outside. Luckily, the ref doesn't see it, so the match continues. Miz and Mello hit a pretty bad-looking 48 finale, first 48 finale. Mello's, one of his moves is the first 48. Miz's skull-crushing finale. I think this is a move that could work, but it just didn't work here. Didn't look great. They then do a Charlotte video package. I'm not going to say anything bad about Charlotte. I'll save that for another day. We got Tiffany Stratton versus Candice LeRae. Tiffany starts with the promo, talking about Charlotte, talking about Candice. Then Candice I was about to say Elena, Nia Jax, come out. Sorry, I've got talking in the background. It's a bit distracting. I'm sure you can't hear it, but I can. So they come out and they're like, well, why don't we just attack you before like our match in Elimination Chamber? Because it's going to be Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus versus Nia Jax and Candice LeRae, which sounds like a fun match to have. The ref intervenes. This is very strange. Like, the match hasn't started yet. Nia Jax and Candice LeRae are going to team up and attack Tiffany Stratton. And, I forget her name, but the female referee, God, what's her name? I don't know. She's black and she's engaged to Leon Ruff, former NXT North American champion Leon Ruff. Anyway, she comes up and she's like, oh, no. And I'm like, Nia Jax, why don't you just push her aside? I mean, I know you can't get physical with the ref, but like, there's two of you. One can go around and like attack Tiffany Stratton. This just seems like a really weak excuse not to attack Tiffany Stratton. Like, this is almost as bad as that AEW segment where Thunder Rosa came out with the chair and didn't hit Megan Bayne or Penelope Ford. Not as bad as that, but still not a great look for Candice LeRae and Nia Jax. Anyway, commercial break. They come back. The match has started. Charlotte comes out with her entrance music. I feel like it would have made more sense for Charlotte to come out and defend Tiffany. Don't make her 100% heel. Be like, look, you're not attacking her 2-on-1. I don't want her to have any excuse for why I beat her at WrestleMania. And I'm like, that's totally fair. Like, is it a little bit face? Yeah. But I don't think you have to. It doesn't have to be so black and white. You can be a heel with some integrity, with some, decorum. But anyway, doesn't matter. They have the match, Candice and Tiffany. Match is fine. There's some moves that goes on. I don't talk much about moves unless they really speak to me. Tiffany wins with the prettiest moonsault ever. Then they attack I will say, I will give them credit. They didn't do the thing where they throw one of the opponents into the person sitting at ringside at the announce table. So Charlotte didn't take any bumps or anything like that. Trish Stratus does come out, which was surprising. I thought they were going to save her for next week in Toronto to try and make the save. She's unsuccessful with the save, and Nia Jax hits the Annihilator on both Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus piled up on each other. And she took good care to not, seriously hurt them, which I appreciate. Though it didn't look great. But again, I'd rather something not look great and everyone's safe than have something look awesome and someone gets hurt. You know what I mean? Let's just see how this tag team match goes at Elimination Chamber. I think it could be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Let's put it that way. And who knows? Maybe we'll get Nia Jax versus Trish Stratus at WrestleMania as a fallout, because I do feel bad that at this point it looks like Nia Jax doesn't really have a match at Mania lined up. It's like she's getting a big match at the Elimination Chamber, which happened last year, but then no WrestleMania match. And it's like all this hard work just to miss out on Mania. Like you get to the last stop before Mania, and then it's just like, oh, you get off the train. Like that's not a great look for anyone, including Nia Jax, who again I'm not a huge fan of, but she's been putting in good work, and I think she deserves something. But we'll see. Like The Rock says, sit back, enjoy the ride. We'll see what happens. Backstage segment with Damian Priest and Cody Rhodes. Damian Priest says, hey, man, what happened? Why aren't you in the 6-man tag? And Cody Rhodes just says, hey, it's The Rock's decision, because Nick Aldis had talked to Cody earlier. That was the first thing of the night. He said, it's not a 6-man tag match anymore. It's out of my hands. Cody's like, well, let's talk to whoever we have to talk to. And Nick Aldis is like, look, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing we can do if you smell what I'm cooking. So back to Damian Priest. Cody says, hey, you know, it's this time of year. The Rock shows up. Who knows what he wants? We all know it has something to do with Mania, essentially what he's saying, but he doesn't know why he took him out of the 6-man match. We'll see what happens. Damian Priest brings up the fact that they both became world champion on the same night at WrestleMania last year. And he's sorry that only one of them can be champion at Mania this year. And I thought that was a cool little thing. But then I think he oversells it by saying, I respect you to say this to your, man-to-man, face-to-face, that, I'm going to win the Elimination Chamber and I'm going to beat you at WrestleMania. Well, it's we know that if you win the Elimination Chamber, you're going to face Cody. It's not like you get to choose. Jay already chose Gunther. You're saying stuff we literally already know. Just word it better. That's all I'm saying. Cody Lee, they respect each other. They shake hands. Cody's like, I wouldn't want it any other way. Decent segment. Braun comes in, talks to Damian Priest, congratulates him on being in the Elimination Chamber, but says, hey, I had Jacob Fatu dead to rights. If Solo Sikoa didn't get involved last week. And Damian's just they're seeing eye to eye. They agree to disagree, essentially, and they're going to get business done tonight in their tag team match. Then we have Chelsea Green. Oh, this is the part they announced. Like I said earlier tonight, they said there was reports that they were canceling the Liv Morgan Naomi match. In the beginning of this episode of SmackDown, they say the match is on. And I'm like, okay, fine. Then this match is scheduled to go now, and Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez beat up both Bianca Belair and Naomi, so the match doesn't actually happen. So it's kind of back and forth, kind of funny. Chelsea Green is backstage with Nick Aldis with Piper Niven, and they're like, oh, we can totally take their place at Elimination Chamber since they just got beat up. And Nick Aldis is like, they're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. You're getting on my nerves. And Chelsea, just being Chelsea. Also, she's wearing a U.S. title. She's wearing a U.S. jacket, like a American flag jacket, which is actually Zack Ryder's jacket from way back when he was #1 contender for the U.S. title against Rusev. So that was a fun little nod. She looked great in the jacket, considering I'm sure it's way too big for her. I'm sure Zack Ryder is, Zack Ryder's over 6 foot. Chelsea's nowhere near 6 foot. She's not short, but like maybe she's 5'9" if she's lucky. I don't know. I haven't looked her up. I haven't met her in person yet. Regardless, she looked good in the jacket. Fun little segment here. Nick Aldis says she'll have a match on SmackDown in Toronto next week. I get it. You build up the weekend. I still think you should have her on the Elimination Chamber card, even if it's for a segment like this, similar to this. I think it would be good. I didn't mind that Naomi beat her to qualify for the Chamber. She is a mid-card champion. She doesn't, and she's Chelsea Green. She's a bit of a like she's not a strong champion. She finds ways to win, but she doesn't have to win every time. So I have no issue with Naomi, who is a tag champ in her own right and a multi-time WWE SmackDown Women's Champion. So no gripes there. Though I just would like Chelsea to be in a part of Elimination Chamber in some way, shape, or form, and not just relegated to you perform on the show the night before because it's in the same town. What do we got going? Then the Rock announcement happens. We already went through that. Again, strange that this didn't go on last. I'm not sure why. I don't know what the deal is with that, because I don't think anyone really cared about anything after that. I know I didn't, and that's a shame because it's DIY versus Yes Boy! Pretty Deadly, who I love. I really like both those teams. DIY, I think they're colder than they've ever been, which is insane because they're champions. But just them coming back together, they didn't make it make sense other than neither of these guys are doing anything. What did they do? Well, either they're jobbers, they get released, or we put them together as a tag team again. And they chose option 3, which is the best option out of those 3 options. But I would just like it to make more sense storyline wise. Like, have some reason for them to come together, not just those reasons that I listed that they have nothing else to do. Like, make it captivating, and also put some focus on the tag team division. Cut some time out for them to have promos, to have, longer matches, to do something, because there's something missing in the tag division, and it's not talent. The talent is there. The passion is there. People love these teams. Like, even Street Profits, who I've never been less interested in. There's still diehard fans out there. And I get it. They're super talented. I just think they'd be better off in AEW. But they do interfere in this match. The match gets thrown out. I think that's the second match that gets thrown out tonight. Regardless, not great. Fine for Pretty Deadly. They don't have to take a loss in the tag team championship match, but hopefully they do something. I would like to see a 4-way ladder match with these guys at Mania. You could say, they did a ladder match last year. Who gives a crap? They did 2 years in a row where they had an Intercontinental Championship ladder match. They can do 2 years in a row with the tag titles. Plus, it's not as many teams as last year, and it's only one set of the tag titles. They can make it a TLC match. They have options here. I think all 4 of these teams are really talented, and find something for them to do and give me a reason to care. Because just because I like them is not enough to care. Like, if I know you don't care, then I'm not going to care. I'm going to care that you don't care. That's what's going to happen. All right, let's try and wrap this up. And then the tag match at the end happens, and Braun Strowman and Damian Priest win. All right, this has been the Mark It Down podcast. I am Matt Casco, and I hope you enjoyed this show. We cover all things wrestling. Let us know what you like to hear about. We got some upcoming things that we're going to try and cover. And always follow us on social media at Mark It Down Pod. We're on Instagram. That's where I do most of my stuff. We're also on X and Facebook and YouTube, where you can watch this video. And that's about it. I want to keep this under 30 minutes. So, yes, boy. Take care. Bye.